Hello and welcome to the latest from Hearts Standard. My name is Joel Sked, and once again I am joined by my colleague James Kearney as we are here to look back at Heart of Midlothian's 4-1 win over Airdrieonians in the Scottish Cup 5th round on Sunday evening. The win secures Hearts' passage into the quarter-final, where we will meet Greenock Morton for a place at Hampden Park in the semi-finals. Now, firstly, apologies for being a fair bit later than the quarter past I put down. I had some dog issues that I had to attend to, so that was the reason behind that. There's always something pops up. But yeah, how's it going, James?
Oh, I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, well, it's been a good wee day. Yeah, I'm doing well, and
Good.
looking forward to getting back to dissecting another Hearts win. It's becoming quite a habit these days.
Yeah, it's almost boring. Winning all the time. And I say that very, very tongue in cheek. I'll never get bored of.
I'm now thinking of that, that Donald Trump speech he gave that time, where he was like, "Oh, you're going to win all the time. You're going to win so much. You're going to say no, that's enough winning."
Yeah, that's. I didn't expect you to pull out a Donald Trump impression, but no.
Well, we are talking about Airdrie, and they do have that flag, so
of course, all interlinks. So, James, how did you think yesterday went? I see Liam put in there pipe and slippers. Football from Hearts yesterday, very professional. Some of our parts of play yesterday were superb. That's something that Rhys McCabe said. Airdrie boss said afterwards. He called it he praised Hearts' professionalism, and then of course you put it in. Yeah, you've put up a piece analysing game on the site this afternoon, and you were kind of talking about the patterns of play, the shape, and it was a very different Hearts performance in the fact that we actually scored goals in the first half, and it was pretty comfortable from there on.
Well, yeah, I mean the game was basically wrapped up on 21 minutes. I mean, with the greatest of respect to Airdrie, but obviously if Hearts going 3-0 up that early on, it's an awfully big ask for them to get back into the game. So yeah, I thought that Hearts were brilliant. They came flying at the traps. I think as well the 3 goals, it might have been their first 3 shots on goal. Well, they all went in, but they're all really well worked move. And I think the thing that really stood out to me was about the 3 goals. They're all quite different, but they're all absolutely excellent in their own way. I mean, you got the first goal where it's a great team move. It all starts with Shankland dropping deep to collect the ball off Halkett. He plays a great ball with Nieuwenhof. Nieuwenhof drives up the wing, draws some men towards him. They shift the ball out over to Forrest, and then at that point, it's just all about get the ball to Cochrane. They do that. Cochrane's in acres of space. And then the one thing I didn't notice at the time, but I noticed it watching the game back this morning, was when Cochrane goes to hit the ball, when he hits cross into Shankland to score, the amount of options he's got to hit is just insane. Like, I mean, so he could have a goal himself quite easily if he wanted to, and probably be a decent shot. You've got Nieuwenhof running across the face of goal. You've got Vargas at the back post. You've got Forrest just hanging outside the D, and then you've got Grant and Shankland both attacking the space in between the centre halves. So that's about 6 or 7 players that could score. It's absolutely remarkable. So I think that was really encouraging, and particularly the fact that Shankland starts to move at the halfway line essentially, and it's only really when the ball gets worked to Cochrane that you see him kind of busting a gut trying to get forward, and then he gets there in the end. But the fact that he's able to both start the move and finish it off is something that's really great. Obviously, it's something that Shankland in that kind of number 10 role is something that we did see a lot last season. But again, he's not done it loads this campaign under Naismith, but I was really, really impressed with him. I thought Callum Nieuwenhof again had a brilliant game. Would have been man of the match probably, if not for Shankland scores twice, and you kind of go, well, it kind of got to be him, doesn't it? Same as every week, it's like Shankland's man of the match, but then there's other players who did well as well. So I thought Nieuwenhof stood out. I thought Cochrane had a really good game, and I thought Kenneth Vargas had a great game as well. I mean, his run for the second goal, absolutely superb. Again, like when you watch it back, you can see the Airdrie back line. It's all over the place. Like the left back in particular is about maybe 5 yards deeper than the rest of the team, which is just asking for trouble. But Vargas, times his run to perfection. The ball from Halkett's perfect. It's absolutely brilliant ball forward, and then obviously Vargas gets in behind the scores. And then even after the third goal. I mean, a few minutes after that, he almost did it again when he kind of got the ball out wide, got past his man, was maybe let down by a wee bit by his touch, could have squared it across to Grant or Forrest as this for a tap in. So all in all, it was really, really encouraging. And of course, yeah, Nieuwenhof's goal was just brilliant. You know, again, like a really, really well worked solo goal. But even the likes of Lembikisa and Vargas were really important in it, in the way the kind of positions they took up, which kind of allowed Nieuwenhof to just charge down the wing, because basically Lembikisa was in the outside, meaning that somebody had to kind of cover that. Vargas kind of held his position and drifted inside, meaning someone had to deal with that. But it just meant that Nieuwenhof had loads of space to get to. So it meant that by the time he gets to the edge of the box, no one's been put a foot in. And then when he does get to the edge of the box, it's just, it does really well with his touch inside and the dummy to kind of sit the Airdrie man down. And then it's a brilliant finish after it.
Yeah, I think watching that go back specifically was just how his composure that he found on the edge of the box, rather than he was going to shoot, and then he realised actually no, so he just takes that wee pause, and you look at it, kind of just summed up Nieuwenhof's game in general. I think it's certainly taken a while for fans and even I think for ourselves to appreciate Nieuwenhof, because even last week we were talking about something that you might want to write in terms of what's Nieuwenhof good at, but there's nothing he's really good at. He's not got a standout quality, but Naismith absolutely adores him, and it's you can see by the amount of minutes he plays. But I think he just gives you a lot of wee things. And this was something I'm going to write for a piece tomorrow. Just a lot of little. Naismith talks about small steps or small details. Small details, and Nieuwenhof seems to provide those kind of small details. It's his composure on the ball. He takes a touch, he'll pause, and he's really good at enticing players towards him, then shifting it on. He never really looks flustered, and that's kind of his personality, which he's had to kind of change a bit for Scottish football, what he talked about after the game with us yesterday. But he seems to be growing in confidence and growing in an understanding of what Scottish football, but without losing the qualities that he brings that makes him the player he is.
No, absolutely. And I think that, I think particularly over the last few weeks, okay, yes, he's scored 2 goals, like 2 very good goals. But I think even if you take those away, you'd still be really impressed with the way he's played. Because again, the goals are nice, and that's a nice bonus, but it's not really his job. It's not really what he's there to do. Like you say, it's just, it's quite an understated role he does, and it's not maybe the most eye-catching or sexy at times, if it's just, kind of maybe similar to someone like Benny Beningame, where, it's a really important role he does and it's really effective, but it's not always, shouldn't having loads of shots or taking on men or that kind of thing. But you're right. I mean, one of the things that really stood out to me, particularly against Airdrie, was he's great at drawing the man towards him and then releasing it at just the right moment. I mean, again, you look back at the first goal, he drives forward. I think it's at least 2, maybe even 3 Airdrie players he kind of draws towards him before then shifting it infield. And as soon as they shifted infield, again, the Hearts are just one pass away from getting it to Cochrane, and since Cochrane's got it, it's surely a goal. So again, little things like that are just really, they're really encouraging to see.
And that was something noticing in the St Johnstone game, is the amount of times that St Johnstone midfielder went to press him, and then he would just move it just as the guy was getting close to him, and then the reaction of the St Johnstone player was like, damn it, I was close to him, but I never actually got there. And I think sometimes when you look at him, and we've certainly been critical of him. There's games where we've sat and just spoke about like what's he doing in midfield? He's like the game's passing him by, and like surely Naismith's going to take him off. But I think we've kind of spoken about it before. If you probably take him out of the team, and you'll probably notice his presence even more when he's not there. The missing presence he has. So yeah, I think it's encouraging signs to go forward. He's not by means not all the perfect midfielder just yet. He's still going to take time to really find his feet and provide the best he can. The Naismith talked about him finding levels, but it was interesting just seeing Graham and Liam just mentioned some of the comments they've put in the chat. Graham was talking about, I see Hearts want to make Devlin more of a box-to-box player than a defensive midfielder. That's something Naismith spoke to Barry about in the Even News, and that he's going to see as a box-to-box player. And I think everyone is aware that that's probably his best qualities. Liam does mention, I've tried to play as a box-to-box midfielder from the day he signed, which I agree with. I think he has. At times he sat with Benny in the midfield too, but for the majority of it, he has been Devlin has been very much kind of let him loose and just get about the pitch. I just don't think he's got the composure to be the goal scoring box midfielder he is. And you look at the midfield, as Liam says, Devlin at the moment will struggle to get in this team, because you just look at the defined roles that a lot of the players have. You've got to play either Grant or Fraser, because they bring a wee bit of creativity. Then you've got Benny as a 6. It's either Benny or Macaulay Tate that plays that 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're looking at it's between Callum Nieuwenhof and Devlin for that other position. But Naismith, when he talks about Nieuwenhof, he talks about the control he brings in midfield. And then in the interview he did with Barry for the news, he talked about the discipline of Devlin, like where to be on the pitch, what to do with the ball as well. So I just think he sees Callum Nieuwenhof as a more reliable, trustworthy player who fits in with what the team needs and he wants at the moment.
Aye, perhaps. I mean, I think that don't get me wrong, like Nieuwenhof's in excellent form at the moment, and right now, he's ahead of Devlin on merit, absolutely. And while I take the point about him, I think there is a perception about Cammy Devlin that he's wasteful on the ball, that he's not particularly good to pass through the ball. But I know that I think it was Tom Irving that pointed this out, that actually his passing stats are pretty good. Like his passing accuracy and things like that, it's actually not too bad at all. Okay, he's not the kind of guy who's going to rake 60-yard through balls or anything like that, but he's better in possession than people give him credit for, I think. I mean, I am a big Cammy Devlin fan. I really like him, always have. But certainly Nieuwenhof just now, he's really, really coming onto a game. And like you say, there is that kind of maturity and that composure around his performances recently, which, again, we've not maybe seen in the first half of the season. I mean, one of the things that I've been really impressed with actually over the last few games is just the way when he's on the ball and somebody's closing him down, an opponent, he's just got that little drop of the shoulder and that just be able to just nudge the ball past him. And he's been doing that a lot recently, and it's. I mean, Airdrie really, really struggled with that, because I think when people commit to the challenge with him, he's really good at reading that, and then just like I say, just doing a little drop of the shoulder and touching it past somebody. It's just a case of trying to do that, I suppose, more in the final third, where it can have more of an impact. If you can beat a man in that area by doing that, then you're in on goal. If you do it in the midfield, then okay, you've got time to get your pass away, or drive forward, but it's not the same kind of level of opportunity. So again, it's probably about trying to get Nieuwenhof to do that, the same sort of things he's doing at the moment, just try to do it a bit more advanced. But again, I think we are seeing that. I mean, particularly over the last few games, I think as well, you notice his runs a lot. He has been running beyond the striker, beyond the likes of Vargas and that even sometimes as well. He has been really getting forward, and he's been covering some amount of grass over the last few games, or plastic, I suppose, on Sunday. But I think he's, like you say, he's a player who at times this season I've been watching him and I'm going, I don't really get it. Like I don't really know, like, what's his thing? What's he good at? And I'm kind of going, I'm not sure. But I think over the past few games, we're starting to see that more and more and more. And I think this is what we needed to see from him, because I'm sure I've said this to you before, but you think of the first half of the season, how many times has anyone walked away from a game and went, do you know what? Callum Nieuwenhof was brilliant tonight. Yeah. It was always just like, so-and-so's had a great game, so-and-so's had a great game, and Callum Nieuwenhof, he was fine, yeah, he was good. I think the last few games, now you're starting to get, he was great tonight, or he was brilliant tonight. So it's really great to see. It's really encouraging. And again, I think, like you say, I think for the stages of the season, I've been a little bit unsure about what Naismith exactly sees in him, but now we are starting to see that, and it's always nice to see.
I've been laughing at some of the comparisons to Callum Nieuwenhof, and that the Source Networker compares him. He says it is a Gary Mackay vibe about, of course, record appearance holder, Hearts legend, and then Lewis Russell says Adrian Morovic rings a bell with Callum. Very basic Polish midfielder, for context, James, and who was once played up front because we didn't have any strikers. Two very, very different comparisons, but I loved it. I love them nonetheless. I think that Fraser makes a good point with Devlin, as Cammy gives 100%, and it was that Hearts midfield against Aberdeen looked missing, and we were praying for someone like Devlin, and I think that's true. There's going to be games this season where that first half against Aberdeen, Devlin would have been perfect for that, just because he is. he brings a bit more physicality. He makes a bit more chaos in midfield, and he's more disruptive. He's more disruptive than anyone else in the team in a good way to the opposition. So yeah, there's always going to be these games in the season, and it was like you look at back early on in the season when we played Rangers a couple of times, and he didn't play, and you're kind of wondering, these are the games that you probably suit in and breaking teams up. But it's the good thing is it's provides competition, and it's a lot of decisions for Naismith to make. Want to bring in, you mentioned Vargas, and I think we've seen two forwards summer signings go in different directions, certainly over the last few weeks. Vargas has been really good. He's found a bit more consistency. He's been a lot more effective, a lot more productive. He was like you talked about, he was really good yesterday for 45 minutes, and I think that might have been the case. Like, if we're in decent position, give him 45 minutes, give Tagawa another good opportunity against a team where he'll get space. He should get opportunities like he did against the Spartans. And he didn't take his opportunity yesterday.
No, I don't think he did. I mean, I've got a bit of sympathy for him in that I don't think he should be. I'd much rather seen him come on just up front, rather than, because he was playing on the right hand side to the point where he was almost playing as a winger for most of the game. Yeah. He was kind of hugging the byline and not really.
You see how deep he got a couple of times in the second half, and he gave the ball away.
So he was kind of on the periphery of the action and not really too heavily involved, I didn't think. I mean, he had a decent kind of dribbling shot towards the end of the game, which is nice because, again, it's one of those things we've not really seen much of at all. But I mean, I remember at halftime, me and you both turned to each other and went, "Get Tagawa on, because this is a great chance for him to try and just get a goal, lift his confidence, put in a performance." Because you look at Airdrie, like, obviously with the way that they play, they're not going to just park 10 men behind the ball and just go, all right, hey, let's damage limitation this. No, they're going to try and play. There's going to be space at our gaps, and that's presumably, like, from what we see on Tagawa, you would think that's exactly the kind of game that suits him. But again, here we go. He comes on. You can see a couple of times I don't think Shankland was particularly happy with him. I think maybe in terms of the runs he was making or not making. So there was a frustration there. But again, it's another performance where he's come in, he's had 45 minutes, and come the end of it all, he's not really done much. I mean, to be fair, he's not done loads wrong either. I mean, there were one or two misplaced passes, which weren't great, but it's just, for a forwards player, it just looked like football. The game was happening to him. It wasn't exerting any control or influence over it. He was just kind of there. And I think that's something we've seen a little too often this season. I think far too often this season from him. So, I mean, I'm wary because, you look at somebody like, you look at the likes of Vargas or Nieuwenhof, or, summer signings have come in and, maybe didn't adapt right away, but, really come onto a game. And, you'd like to think hopefully Tagawa can do that as well. I don't think Hearts are at the point yet where it's just completely write this guy off and shift him on in the summer. But sooner rather than later, he is going to have to start contributing meaningfully in some way or another, because there's only so many anonymous performances you can get away with before you do need to cut your losses.
Yeah, I think so. Just reading Ian's comment here that his 1v1 in the first game of the season feels like a sliding doors moment, but he's at his first appearance, maybe gets that immediate confidence boost, and that's stuff like that is just it's so key moments in football that can change, because as soon as you score your first goal, it's like, okay, it just gives you time. Like a manager wins games, it gives you time, buys you credit, etc., etc. Individually, there's many. He
did score against Partick Thistle, mind.
He did score against Partick Thistle.
He did get one.
Yeah, in a very comprehensive League Cup success. I don't think there's many more individuals to speak about. Obviously, Craig Gordon came back in, did well, pulled off one great save when Airdrie started well, and had created a couple of chances. Kai Rose came back in, and having been in the Asian Cup, Nathaniel Atkinson got some minutes. Probably the other one to really talk about, because, I mean, Shankland scored two. You talked about him as a number 9 dropping in. Nothing much more to say about him, but the only other one is probably Craig Halkett, is that he played, obviously, a blinding pass to Vargas for the for the second goal, but then had to go off injured with what looks like a knee. Well, what Naismith said was a knee injury. Said, hope it's not too serious. But yeah, it's a real blow, because it was always going to take Halkett a wee bit of time to get up and running, just because he'd missed 11 months of football. I just think he's the type of player that probably need a decent amount of time to find his peak, which was always going to take a few games. He's been in and out of the team. He's been brought on as sub, etc., etc. But hopefully, if it is a more serious injury, that's an absolute massive blow and massively disappointing for him on a personal level as well.
Yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed, because you don't want to see any players get injured, but especially someone like that who's just come back from such a serious injury not that long ago. So yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed for him again. Yeah, the ball for Vargas was absolutely brilliant. That's the kind of pass, for instance, that I think Frankie Kent has been attempting quite a lot this season, and it's not quite came off. So it's nice to have like one of those centre halves that can play those kind of pinged balls forward through. And I did think though before he came off Halkett, it was largely fine, but there was one moment where it was only a few minutes in, I think, when there was a kind of ball forward from Airdrie and he made an absolute hash of it. And luckily, I think it would have been Cochrane was maybe there to sweep up, or perhaps Lembikis. I can't remember exactly who, but again, it's one of those moments where you thought, oh God, that was almost like just absolutely chucking one in for no reason. So yeah, I thought he was good. Obviously, he only played 20 minutes or so it's hard to say anything too sweeping about it. But I thought, again, actually, quick word just for Alex Cochrane. I thought he was excellent again.
Oh yeah,
yesterday. Lembikis though, a wee bit disappointing, I think.
Yeah,
there was times certainly, like a few times early on, he'd get the ball and he'd try and beat his man and just kind of cheaply surrendered possession a few times. He did that quite a few times, and then another couple of times he hit balls into the box that were just a bit rubbish. So hopefully that's just a blip.
He did. He looked. He frustrated me because there's times he looked like he was playing with two left feet when he tried to take someone on, and there's other times where he got one-on-one with someone, and then there was space. I just think you just knock it and run. You're quicker. You're quicker than the opposite the opponent. So just do it. So yeah, it was a wee bit more of an erratic performance. Again, he can probably get away with it because it's Airdrieonians. But yeah, one to keep an eye on. Again, it's good. Atkinson's back. There is loads of competition. So if players are not performing, there is someone there to step in. It's in a really good position, and obviously, ideally, Halkett's not as bad as, not nearly as bad as these previous injury. Maybe it's just a couple of weeks, but then it's still a wee bit for Boyce and Mackay to come back. So because we were talking about the strength of the bench, that Civic couldn't get on it. I think Haring's still got injury. So it's
Oda as well didn't get on it.
Was Oda not on the bench either?
Don't think so.
Ah.
I'm 99% sure. Now I feel like I'm going to have made a mistake here, but I'm sure he wasn't in the squad.
Completely missed that.
No,
you're right.
There were one or two. I mean, also there's like some Macaulay Tate and Nathan Denham on the bench, but obviously you compare it to the last couple of weeks where it's there's been a couple of times the bench has been a lot of academy players on it. This time you looked at it and there's a lot of players on it who are probably quite upset they're not starting the game, because that's probably where they see themselves in their Hearts career. So again, it does show you that the strength of the squad, and I think probably January and the start of February is always going to be the time when the squad is going to be really tested with Rose and Atkinson away at the cup, and obviously a couple of injuries kicking around the squad as well. But you'd like to think now, hopefully, barring any massive injury crisis, the squad should be in pretty good shape between now and the end of the season. And like you say, there's lots of competition, lots of players who are probably about the same sort of level, but maybe just do different things and give Naismith different options. So I think the squad is in a really good place at the moment.
Just a couple of things that's been mentioned in the comments. Liam talked about how the first goal being threatening all season, that the numbers in the box we're getting now is sensational, and then you've got the social networkers saying have gelled in a strong unit, players coming back will have to be on top form to get into the match day squad, and that's it. I think that's, you've seen development that we've had to play with a back three for a fair while. I think back four is probably here to stay now. Largely, I think that gives you the best attacking options, get more numbers in the final third. And I just think that's having been able to go back to that, having gone through the period where you've gone in the back three, you've provided us, you've won games, solid foundation. Now with players understanding what's expected of them, the roles more, you can be a bit more expansive and be just kind of trust players to perform and accept the demands on them in terms of an attacking and defensive mindset. We won't talk about the Green and Morton game because it's still a month away, and we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. But a good draw nonetheless, an exciting draw. I would imagine it'll be maybe potentially a Friday night BBC tie. But just to kind of finish up on this game in general, I actually really enjoyed it, and I think it was Liam mentioned it in the comments. The shout out to the class AstroTurf yesterday. It looked one of the best 4G's first surfaces I've seen. We spoke about this for ages because it generally looked from our vantage point, it was just a really, really good grass pitch, just because the way the turf went into the AstroTurf, like around the pitch, and there was two very different, distinct green colours, and the one that the Hearts played on was grass-like, and you compare it to the ones at Livy and Kilmarnock, night and day. That they just aesthetically look terrible, whereas the one at Airdrie looked absolutely phenomenal, and the ball seemed to move really well. And I think that fed into what was a really enjoyable game for the large part. Obviously, Airdrie, like you said, didn't sit in. They stuck to their guns. They wanted to play the way they wanted to, and I thought they'd started really well, had a few chances, and it just made for an enjoyable game of football.
No, absolutely, yeah. I mean, like, okay, the drama of which way is it going to go, that was kind of the sting that was taken out of that. Like whenever Nieuwenhof scored and it's 3, and then you go, okay, fine. But it was still an enjoyable game to watch. Again, like, there was basically whether it was the Hearts right back that's got the ball, or the Airdrie left back, or the Airdrie centre half, or the Hearts centre half. There was always play going on around there. There's lots of short passes, lots of pressing, and all that kind of stuff. There wasn't too much of just let him have the ball and we'll sit back and hold our shape. It was lots of little movements all over the park, which makes for a fun game, makes it entertaining. And yeah, credit to Airdrie, obviously at 1-0 they hit the bar. Obviously that could easily go in, and who knows what happens from there. But yeah, I think they played good football. And like you say about the pitch as well, I mean, the way that McCabe wants to play, they couldn't play that way if they were playing at Almondvale or Rugby Park. It's like you need a good pitch in order to be able to do that. A really nice surface. And yeah, entertaining game. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't, obviously there was 5 goals. Yeah, that's great. But even just like the bits that weren't chances were still good to watch. Like even it's just defence playing it around the back, or midfield playing it around the back, just looking for little gaps to make. So really encouraging. Really enjoyed it. And Joe as well, I'll say this: Airdrie, great strip as well. I do like it. I like the. I like that nobody else has really done that. I think that's quite cool. So I'll give it. It was lovely to watch it for a whole variety of reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, James, thank you very much, and thank you very much everyone for listening and continue to support and subscribe. There is plenty of content up on the website and coming up this week on heartstandard.co.uk, so be sure to check that out. I will leave it on this message from Craig 2702. I don't think I've ever been more confident in winning a cup than I have this season, genuinely. I want to buy into your enthusiasm, Craig, so fingers crossed. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.